Drinks now. Cabasson Lil's grabbed the lead and Cabasson Lil forges clear. Cabasson Lil defeated Jackson Drinks
on, but Shakiro's nicely clear in the breeder's plate, and Shakiro goes on to be Construct. Getting up to run third was Astrologer.
Spookwood have come together, battling back Bush Icon. Bush Icon responding. Spookwood, Bush Icon. Oh, there's nothing in it. Spookwood, if anything.
Asa and Kementari, dollar for dollar, and Zutori, dollar for dollar. Zutori just in front, and Zutori has just won it.
Please be advised that the following presentation may offend or upset some viewers, including breeders, corporate bookies, stewards, racing participants, jockeys, trainers, racing media, including our first guest potentially, and non-bettors. Nothing on this show should be taken seriously other than the betting advice provided. This message was approved by the mailbag.com.au. By viewing the show, you lose all rights to complain and or sue. Please enjoy the show. Welcome to the Mailbag Live, which is on the 8th of October. I'm losing track of time, so I had to actually check the date and make sure I had it written down there. It's a pleasure to welcome guest to the show, Damien Ractliffe from The Age. Damien, welcome to the Mailbag.
Boys, I'm excited. We're heading into the big spring and you pulled out the big gun, so I like it.
Well,
yeah, it's actually our first ever guest, really. Like we rotate sort of the regulars, so it's big shoes for you. You're going to sort of set the benchmark for where our guests are sort of going to get to. So hopefully nice and sharp.
Oh, you could have got J-Mac or you could have got Moods, and you've gone with the no-name journo from The Age. So glad to be on, boys.
Well, I don't know if we could get Moods, could we? I think he's contracted.
You're probably right. You'd be able to get someone. Henry Dwyer will do it.
You'd get Moods if you joined him in some sort of cigarette lounge or cigar bar or something like that, Dickens. But
well, I'll tell you, as you know, I'm doing my best to quit the darts again, go 15. And you know how like one of my strategies for the office is pistachio nuts, right? So I'm also, Ems is quite unwell, so I'm looking after the kid and her full time. So I'm doing most of my work from like 7 till sort of 1 a.m. and chewing away on my nuts, and I'm hearing this shit, but I've got I'm listening to a podcast. So it's like when you've had a really big night and you can sort of, a bit sketchy, doesn't go away. I'm thinking it's M's, doesn't go away. Then out of the corner of my eye, I see this thing move, right? I've got a mouse in my office, right? So then I start digging it away, trying to get it. I don't want to kill it. Trying to get it. I'm like, mate, I'll get you out now and you'll live. Otherwise, I'm going to have to do whatever. Then I find that the little fucker, it's all through my cabinet, and then I've got a vinyl player in between all the records, under the record player, pistachio nuts everywhere. So I've been sharing the nuts with the fucking mouse. And the end result is I'm back on the darts.
The mail is when you try to approach said mouse, it actually charged you and you recoiled in horror and might have screamed. Is true or false?
Yeah, I woke the kid up. That was Tuesday night, and I just sort of established that it was like had a base, and I cleaned it all up. So it was like 1 a.m. I went to bed. Then I thought like I got rid of him. Then last night was when I found out that he's actually living on the other side as well, or there's two of them, and I saw him come in at like 11:30. I'm deep into like the Guineas or whatever. There he is, hides under the record player. Hour and a half later, I'm just in a shirt and like undies because I'm sweating that hard from just like trying to like Bear Grylls this thing, but it's more like Russell Coit.
All right, enough about you and your mouse, your pet mouse or whatever we're calling it. Damien, welcome to the show. Just provide the viewers to start with a little bit of your history. How'd you get into journalism? What's your background in racing?
Yeah, I decided when I was 16 that I wanted to be a journo. So from there, I knew that I probably had to do a bit of work experience to try and build up some contacts. So that's what I went about doing for a couple of years. And SEN was one of those places that I had a good stint at. Then did a degree at La Trobe in Bachelor of Journalism, and kept working through with a bit of work experience. And my first job in racing was actually working at RSN for Shane Anderson and Nadia Horn. So I'd work the phones for them 1 day a week. Doesn't sound as glamorous as it was, but it was a good way to make contacts and and learn a bit about racing. Racing was probably in my blood, but I hadn't really been exposed to it at that point. Did that job for about a year, and then got back into newspapers, was working for Leader newspaper. Then you guys might remember G1X that started up. There was a club going there, applied there, and worked alongside Mick Sharkey, which was another good learning experience. Really got back into the racing there and worked a year there, and still young and probably easily bored. After a year, I wanted to get back into papers. So I went down to Geelong and worked at the Geelong Addy for about 2.5 years. And then there was a chief racing writer job going at the Age, and applied for that and got back in that way. So racing's been handy in the point that, every bloke my age coming through journalism wants to work in footy, and having a little bit of background at RSN meant that when a job like this one popped up at the Age, a bit of a niche, and had a bit of a background there. So loving it. I'm about a year into the job now. I started on the eve of the Spring Carnival last year, and my goal is just to break big stories.
Bloody good. Well, speaking of that, I mean, how exactly does the journalistic process work? Are you chasing stories? Are you constantly reviewing stewards' report? Are you pursuing tip-offs that you get from the general public?
Yeah, there's probably not a lot of that. It's probably as you guys hear, you'll a text will come across and you'll say, is this legit or is it bullshit? Yeah. And you ask a few questions and sniff around. Things like COVID popping up. You hear of a stable testing positive for COVID. Well, you just text someone that at the stable and ask if it's legit. But we're sort of relying on Racing Victoria to answer our questions. We try and put a few hard questions to them, and hopefully they give us a statement we can run with. But guys like Josh Blanksby and Michael Brow at the clubs are really easy to contact. You can pick up the phone and ask them. Guy like Robert Cram, who's the chairman of stewards, if there's something, a horse has been scratched, or Ollie had a little mishap COVID style. I think he had to get tested and sit out a meeting at Geelong once. So I could just pick up the phone and ask Robert about that. So those sort of things, you just pick up the phone and get someone on the record. Some of that harder hitting stuff like Weir and McLean, you're more so chasing court documents. So you've just got it in writing, something official, and you just go with that. You try not to speculate. If you are trying to go off sources, you're trying to make sure that you've got two sources, or if you see a story with a co-byline. So myself and Chip LeGrand wrote a few stories. We're just basically making sure our sources are both telling us the same story so we can go with it. And then obviously those sort of things get legaled by our legal team to make sure we're not defaming anyone or putting ourselves in the shit.
How often does that occur in terms of ending up in a situation where you have to go through the legal team?
Yeah, most of that stuff court related. There were a couple of stories I wrote about an owner who wasn't paying his bills, and he was in Aristia and he tried to stop Aristia from racing, that sort of thing. Again, that all gets legaled. The Age are we're careful with what we run, but the legal team also backs in us journos to get it right. So if we say we know this is legit, then they generally back us in.
Sure. Well, a couple of the major stories in recent times, as you mentioned, does include the charges against Darren Weir and Jared McLean. Can you just give us the latest on what's happening with that case at the moment? Yeah,
they were actually in court today, Weir and McLean. It's at the point where the judge has to decide whether there's enough evidence to commit the men to trial. So basically they had a deliberation a couple of weeks ago. It was sort of 2 days in court. And I know Kells and Dicko sort of thought that what came out in the media actually looked like that there was some sort of sketchy evidence against the guys, but it was probably one of those one-sided things where the witnesses that are on the prosecution side, they've put in their statement and they were basically asked, is this your statement? Is this what you stand by? And they said yes. And then it was up to Weir's defense to try and pick holes through it. So it might have looked a bit one-sided, but it's really up to the judge now to decide, A, does he think a jigger is cruel to an animal? And you probably have people on two sides of the fence there. And B, was there a conspiracy to defraud stewards? And that's the charge there. That's the most serious charge. That's the one they're trying to get thrown out. And I believe 2 weeks' time, maybe October 19, is when we're meant to find out whether the judge is going to commit those guys to trial.
It always seems to be the way that all these major stories, integrity issues, are always during Spring Carnival at some point or another. It seems to happen every single year in Victoria. There was another couple of the betting charges against Ben MYM. Any latest news on that situation?
Yeah, there was a little development there yesterday where MYM's lawyers actually challenged the charge of betting on races in Singapore, and they argued that the Australian rules of racing are to govern Australian racing and protect the integrity of the sport here and not races over there. And yesterday was determined that MYM's bets in Singapore were allowed, that they're not against the rules of racing. So it's a little plot twist there. He's not out of the woods yet. Obviously, he allegedly bet on races that he rode in, so they're ones that he's still got to face. But now it's sort of open slather for jockeys to have a bet on international races, as long as they're not getting any direct mail or anything like that. I can't see.
Of course, they wouldn't be. My favourite part of that though was it Liam Reardon?
Yeah, this is
guys. Listen to this bit. This is the best bit.
This is the best bit. So, Judge John Bowman, who's the chair of the Victorian Racing Tribunal, he was actually chair of the RAD board 4 years ago when Liam Riordan faced the RAD board over a $20 bet on Deauville. He placed at the Anglers on Mount Alexander Road there, or in Maribyrnong, and he copped a 9-month suspended sentence. So it might have been 6 months suspended. So he copped 3 weeks in total and had to undergo counselling. And Judge Bowman yesterday in his decision regarding MYM said, this is sort of embarrassing, but it's just come to light that I hung out this poor kid and I got that wrong, and I'm apologising now. He basically said that Riordan pleaded guilty and nothing was put across his table that betting on international races wasn't against the rules. So he found him guilty. But that was a little side plot.
I think the guy who defended Liam, whoever guy or girl, I don't reckon he's going to get too many more racing-related cases.
No, but in fairness, I think the penalty's right. I think if you're having 20 on something at Deauville in France, you probably deserve to go to cancelling anyway.
Well, I think the rule is you're not allowed to bet on thoroughbred racing, but MYM's lawyers took it a step further and said, well, these rules of racing only govern Australian thoroughbred racing. So, yeah, it worked.
Do you reckon they'll write in a little clause to include overseas racing, coincidentally?
Yeah, I think they will. It probably looking back now, those ones will get off. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see an amendment of the rules.
Yeah, the MYM amendment. Oh, how gross!
Yeah,
Gladrout strikes again. He's just the best.
Dicko, how do you handle jockeys that have been charged and obviously have pled not guilty, so they're awaiting, the case to be finalised when they're still riding?
Well, who we got? MYM? Anyone else?
Hieronymus was racing, but I think he's correct me if I'm wrong. I think he changed his plea and ended up pleading guilty. So I think he's looking at 3 years. From
a punting point of view with MYM, which is credit to you, Damien, because not many people talk about it. So it's hard to get information to know, is this going to be dealt with in 3 weeks or is this going to drag out for 6 months? So at the first little point, I sort of avoid him because I think his head's just going to be fuzzy as hell. And he's going to make probably his favourite to make poor decisions in a race. But then I think with him, you can see that he's just hungrier than ever and riding as good as ever and putting horses into races all the time. It's kind of off topic, but Jay Mott almost put Employ through the fence on a horse we backed. Was it Donald, boys?
Yep.
Because he's hungry. He's at the level where he needs rides. He's real hungry. Whereas some of the bigger riders, the MYMs and Olivers and Zaras, they're not going to take those gaps right now because they want to ride in the Caulfield Cup, the Cox Plate, etc. So you want to sort of see where their head's at to what decisions they're going to make on horses for you. And if you're backing a horse that sort of settles worse in midfield, then it's going to need that sort of intent at some point in the race, you want to make sure that their sort of heads in the game. So like with Curry coming back, you want to make sure he's still confident and comfortable to take those gaps, coming back from a big fall, stuff like that. I just watch and then wait and then to make a decision. But I think Melham's riding great.
I'm interested in asking you guys, like you spoke about that there. Do you look at Ollie like that at all at the moment? Like he's got the prize ride on Russian Camelot in the Cox Plate, but then there were, the ride on Tefane, for example, where he probably could have gone inside and went outside. Is he a bit hesitant at the moment, a bit Hugh Bowman on Winks type thing?
Yeah, well, like if you look at, well, from a punting point of view, I bet into that race because two of those horses weren't trying. Tefane and Santa Ana Lane. They've got a grand final in 2 weeks. Yeah. Order the Garter in the last race on Saturday at Caulfield. Ollie rides that, but it wouldn't matter who rode it. The horse is in a Caulfield Cup. It's not going to be there to win. They still might win, but they don't care. Yeah. So the connections are telling him just jump, settle, get through the line, don't hurt it. That's all they want, and he's just doing what he's told. In that situation. Yeah. Like with Young Werther, that horse on Saturday we spoke about in the deep dive, you could see on the steward's vision, which is great when they let you see it. That horse just wanted to lay in bad. It looked live like, oh, he slaughtered that. But when you watch the stewards, he hadn't. Yeah. It was just about understand. There's all like little bits of information, and how much weight you put to it is the great game. And you often you're going to get it wrong more than you get it right, but just hopefully you survive.
Yeah. Great little point here from Alistair McCook. So nothing stopping Damien Lane punting on Japanese racing. If or when he's riding there. I'm not sure what the rules and regulations are with Japanese racing, but
what about if he goes to Japan and then can he punt here?
Yeah, well, that's the question now. They're probably questions that need to be put to RV. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they amended the rules. But that's where I sort of made the point about inside information. If you're getting text messages or something like that, then that looks a bit more incriminating than Liam Riordan having a couple of beers at the Anglers and chucking on a mystery bet.
Curls, you had a question for Damien?
Oh, yes. We spoke about this a bit earlier, actually, off air as well. But, just more about, I think we've touched on, covered it a bit earlier anyway, just with sort of how you go about it, particularly with those court, when you go to the courts and whether you're, obviously with COVID, you're probably watching them on a stream, but, and where the information comes and whether you're sort of reporting on what's fed to you from like Racing Victoria, for example, like, which can be controlled. Like from where I sit, you seem a little bit removed from that controlled sort of message from the racing authorities. Have you got free rein there to sort of, to dive into the subjects that you feel are newsworthy? Or?
Oh, look, I've been in the bad books a few times. I don't know if you guys saw the story I wrote where the Caulfield Cup and Melbourne Cup weights were published on Racing Australia a week before the weights were meant to come out. Like, the weights are there. That's the story. I don't need Racing Victoria to tell me, oh, no, you can't publish that. That's a draft from 4 weeks ago. We'll let the punters make up the mind. The weights say that Very Elegant's going to carry 55.5 in the Melbourne Cup. That's a headline. You guys are going to click on it. You guys are going to say whether you think that's right or wrong. You're going to say whether you think that was before she won the Winks or not. So, that's sort of how we play it. Can't always be in the good books or the bad books, but
because that's one of the hardest parts for you, I imagine, is like at the start you're saying like, I might get a text here, I can check this there. The more honest and just ruthless you are with reporting the truth, you're going to slowly like burn them away, and then you're going to like bite the hand that feeds you. So you've got to find that balance, I guess.
Yeah, I'll give you another example. I won't name the name here, but there was a jockey who, at the start of COVID, because they were doing temperature on the gate, he would sweat in the car on the way there, and then he would stop about 5 minutes from the track and water himself down with a cold bottle of water to get his temperature down. And I wanted to ask Racing Victoria about that, and they just shut it down. I think, they sort of ripped into the jockey, why you're telling the journo this, and the jockey called me back and he said, can you not ride it? And I sort of made the decision, look, it's not worth it. Like it's it's not a big story. I don't need to burn a bridge that I don't need to. So you got to pick your battles a little bit. But yeah, there's a lot of that plays on behind the scenes.
I think from a punter's point of view, the more behind the scenes info I can get hold of, the better. Like, I want to know which stables the stewards visited the day before and of race morning and that sort of stuff. Like, it just, and, you know, stories about those sorts of things about jockeys. And, you know, if there's a jockey struggling for whatever reason, if you use that example, if they're wasting terribly and got the heater on in the car and they're getting to the track a bit dizzy and hosing themselves down, like, you know what, you know, they're going to be performing at their optimum. All those little things, that's it's of great interest from a punting.
I thought it was just a quirky story that people like to read, but, you know, RV might see it as someone who, you know,
for racing
crook, someone's feeling a bit crook, but they're going to push the boundaries and pour a cold water over themselves so they can keep riding and earning a living. Like, I don't see it like that, but you know, the brand's been smashed a bit over the last 5 years, and they're pretty protective of that.
I think in the next 10 years it'll open up more and more as people our age sort of start to filter through to make the decisions, because the philosophy clearly is like, that's not good for racing. Keep that quiet. But that's bad for racing. Well, we're always trying to appease these people who don't even watch or care for the sport. I think in time it'll change.
It's interesting, you know, you say the brand's been damaged, but we continually hear about, you know, increasing turnover on Victorian racing and things like that. Like, I think the sickness is well and truly ingrained in us, you know, in the Aussie culture of having a punt, regardless of what's going on. The numbers are quite staggering considering, I reckon.
I reckon COVID's nearly been the best thing for racing. Like, if you think about it, we were in the middle of winter, we were restricted, we had to sit at home and we couldn't go out. No AFL, no other sport, racing's on. Channel 7 take a punt and put it on free to air, right at the top of, you know, All-Star Mile into the Sydney Championships. It's been a massive win for racing, I think. It's a shame we can't go to the races this year, because I reckon you would have seen the races packed, absolutely packed on track. But it is what it is. I'm sure we'll be excited to get there when we can. But time for racing to sort of, you know, take advantage while they can. Another interesting update was the lambing thing yesterday. I'm not sure if you got time to talk about that.
Oh, let's grouse this.
Yeah, so basically...
Peak racing this. Peak
racing. Cobalt's been around for a long time. He got charged with administration of Cobalt. The whole time he said he was innocent and going to fight those charges. Basically, the vitamins that he would give his horse every week, or his doctor would give the horse, she thought the horse was racing later in the week. I think she might have thought the horse was racing on a Wednesday, and she gave it the injection on the Saturday, and it was racing on the Saturday. And basically he said, look, I didn't give her permission to inject the horse. I didn't tell her to. This is, you know, this is the trust that we sort of put into our staff. He pleaded guilty to presenting a horse to the races, which is obviously a minor charge, but the charge of administration, yesterday he got off that, and Judge Bowman from the VRT again decided, well, there's no evidence that he asked her to you know, give the horse these vitamins. There's no text messages that's, you know, it's not like Aquanita where there were text messages saying 30 minutes before and 60 minutes before. So, you know, this is a really interesting development in the Cobalt stuff too.
The Aquanita stuff's still ongoing, isn't it?
There are a couple of trainers that are trying to come back, but Racing Victoria sort of made a call a year or two ago that it would keep people out of the sport who don't have a good image. So a guy like Stuart Webb applied for his license, but his prize are at the point where Racing Victoria's knocked them back. Mark Riley's another guy who's trying to get his license back, but hasn't been able to. So it'll be interesting whether some of these guys will ever get their license back. A guy like Weary, you know, has he built up enough prize? I don't know, but there's a character test now on guys that want to get back into the industry.
No, absolutely. Well, look, it's great to have you on board, Damien, and we'll try and do it again a little bit into the future, I'm sure, as some of these other cases go further along the track. Just quickly before you leave, do you have something that you like on the punt this weekend?
Well, you were talking about some of the earlies you got and you put them in multis. I actually got Ole Kirk at 15s. $40 is a big bet for me. So 40 at 15s to win 600. I'll take that if it gets up. I thought Junipal back-to-back wins have been really strong. He did it on the dry ground. He did it on the wet ground. I would have liked to have seen him in a Rupert Clark. I thought he would have been competitive there, but Toorak looks good, and I'm hoping it's not too wet for dirty work. I'll listen to you guys a bit later, but Alpha Oro's out of the Schillaci, and the runs by dirty work, he ran third, I think, to G-Tra and Nature Strip, and then was a bit unlucky in that Classique Legend race. So interested to see how dirty work goes. And when you're talking about grand finals, that might be a horse that Team Hawks is hoping big run this week might get the last Everest slot.
Really?
Oh, there's left. I think there's a standout horse for Waller is there. So Chris Waller has to choose who he's going to pick into that slot. So the winner of the Schillaci last year was the MRC ticket. We saw Trekking win that race and back up on the 7-day backup and run third in the Everest. So you probably can't knock a horse that's in winning form and fit for a race that's going to be brutal like the Everest. So it'll be interesting to see which way Waller goes there.
All right, next week or the week after, we'll do a bit of Racing New South Wales stuff. That'll be fun.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks very much for your time, Damien. We'll catch up then.
Anytime, gents. All the best.
Thanks,
Good
mate.
punting.
Cheers.
See ya.
Beauty. That's Damien Ractliffe from The Age joining us here on the Mailbag Live. It's time to get into the big one. Group 1, Caulfield Guineas, race 8 over the mile.
Race 8?
Race 8. And the synthetic hole will come up first, followed by Jack Dickens' speed map. Dicko, I'll hand you the floor. Take us through the Guineas.
Like obviously, RSN Crystal Ball, G Hall, our man. We're on Old Kirk at. What do we take, you and me?
15 or so, but
yeah.
I think everything. I only had it in multis, and they're all dead. So I'm just sold.
I've had some outrights. And some multis. Some of them had surprise baby in, but they're a bit of like, doubles and trebles. And anyway, it'll start favourite. It's set for this. From barrier 7, I just pray to God that Pike shows a little bit of intent and doesn't sneak to last. I'm going to death ride him relentlessly like I did last Sunday. All of it is half just sort of trying to tune this thing up for him to make me look like an idiot, but also wealthy at the same time. I think it starts favourite. I think Tagaloa is well in here. It's really, really back in grade. Gets a really positive jockey switch. Gets a really friendly barrier. It was cast and just unsuited in the Rupert Clark. It's going to get a soft run here, down in grade. If Caulfield races as it normally does, it's going to be right there. Like it's the wet tracks are the only sort of knock, but outside of that, it's definitely the main danger to us with Old Kirk. I'll still probably back both. I've marked Old Kirk like 3.10 and Tagola. I can't say its fucking name. $6. So they're the two I really like. I think King's Legacy is massive unders. Like at SP $21 last start versus Old Kirk.
So just on that, we'll roll the replay of the last 400 of Old Kirk and King's Legacy, and then we'll run Moanga as well. King's Legacy is a horse that has had plenty of condition on it the first couple of starts, is the report from Rob Scurry up there in Sydney. But it does have historically a pretty weak SP versus, just in general, basically, doesn't it?
Well, there's a horse here, Mama Reagan. It SP the same as King's Legacy in the Golden Rose, the race we're watching now. Mama Reagan sat on the speed, like the good speed, and these two came from the back, right? The winners, the two, Old Kirk and North Pacific. If you like King's Legacy, you've got to have time for Mama Reagan. You just have to off the SPs.
Yep.
It's hard to not Cross Haven. If you dig back through Amish Boy's form, like it's got a big SP over Old Kirk back in the Talander, like the Flemington 400 meter race. It's drawn to get a soft run but need luck. If Luna Fox wins, I'll spew, but it's going to get a nice run. I thought the two that would be really strong from the back, well, I'm hoping that Old Kirk's not back there with them, is ASAR for the Hayes camp, Deep Field Colt. But everything, until you look at its pedigree, you just look at the data, it looks like it won 1600 big time, gets blinkers first time, Lane goes on replacing Nolan. There's pretty big ticks here. Just need that good tempo. And Camborne, this reduced choice Colt. It was good last start. Like, couldn't do any better than it did. It's like deserves to be a big price just off its SP and its platform, but of the lead-up race, like the traditional lead-up race, it was very, very good effort.
In terms of Mwanga, this horse has gone from being
I can't have it,
and now it's $7. What price did you buy?
I think it'll start double figures.
Yeah,
it's way up in grade. There's no form out of the Dulcify at all. Yes, it's undefeated, and it's drawn awkward, but yes, it's got Ollie. I'm fascinated to watch what the market does with that horse. You two know what I mean by that. Sort of, you've done the prices and you're not sure. I'm pretty sure it's going to start double figures, but if they crunched it, I'd just be fascinated and try and understand why they did that. So look, we're with Old Kirk. I think it's short enough now with Pike because he's not riding well, but it should start favourite. But I think the value, if you haven't had a bet yet, is number 1, Tugaloa.
Yeah, okay. We'll head to the Group 1000 Guineas, race 7 at Caulfield, over the mile as well. Market will come up first, followed by the speed map. So you've got Hungry Heart and Instant Celebrity fighting out favouritism here. How do you say that?
I got the shits here. Night Raid and Vangelic will lead. If it's an on-pace bias, like advantage them, but probably advantage Aidensfield, who I'm convinced from 7 will roll forward and probably sits like 1-1 and is the best of like the on-paces. Like, I don't think they've sort of been trying 100%. This is it. This is the grand final. Instant Celebrity, we've been big on it. And we've taken the great price because of you, Peter. But Hungry Heart will start favourite, and I think Hungry Heart will beat it. It gets blinkers on, it backs up, it's had the good run, like the seasoning run over the 600 metres. It's drawn barrier 3 with blinkers on. Like, well, you can see that the Twitter world is blowing up a few slaughters this thing, but it should get every possible beautiful amount of cover, but close enough regardless of how the track plays. I think Hungry Heart will probably win.
Haven't you changed your tune? You called this horse a cat on Tuesday with G Hall.
Yeah, I did. But then when you look at the data, like Instant Celebrity, everything coming out of the Instant Celebrity race, Instant Celebrity should beat them off what it did, off its SP, off everything. But none of them got through the line nicely for another 200 metres. And they didn't go that quick. And Hungry Heart's going to be it could well be like 4 lengths in front of her. Like, and it whilst it looked like a bit of a cat, more so because of how much money I had on it at 220 and the start of $1.80 or whatever it did. But they still gapped the rest in a good race, like a proper race. The horse that interests me here a bit is number 12, Agreeable. Gets blinkers on. It hasn't done anything wrong, never suited, always too far back on an on-pace bias track. It's favourite to probably see the same setup again, but if it doesn't, I think it can be really strong late. Agreeable. But if I was tipping it, if we were on like the radio saying, I'd be number 1 Hungry Heart for number 3 Instant Celebrity, then number 7 Aidensfield and 12 Agreeable. Great race.
All right.
And if Angelic wins, we'll have a team spew. I'm going to go to Pistol's house on Saturday and get away from my life here. I'm planning to. So we'll both. Remember we backed that thing at the Valley?
Yeah, and I've backed it a couple of times this prep at big odds, and it's just sort of just hacked along and not really.
Remember at the Valley though, we took like 8 to start of 4s, maybe top ahead.
Yeah,
and he slaughtered it and still almost won.
Yeah,
Larimer Street beat it.
Yeah, and then it went to Sydney and won, and I was just coma.
Yeah, bloody outstanding. All right, we'll head to the Toorak.
Any questions, Curls?
There's a few statements, more so than questions. If Hungry Heart wins, James Allpress is doing some very sick things to himself.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. Even if it gets beat, he'll still be doing some sick things to himself.
Has he got back from Adelaide yet? James, are you back from Adelaide or are you still over there in the city of churches?
That was some tweet from James, just letting the Twitterverse know where he was and why.
And what he gets up to of a night time?
Tunes for Hoons was wondering if anyone's heard from Wish, and is he still cast on the wild boar cans?
Wish, I can report that Wish did fertilise the garden like last Friday morning.
Yep. Is Personal any hope in the?
Yeah, I think it's a chance. Just the barrier. I don't know what they'll do. Like, it's sort of, do they dig it up, ride it colding? If they ride it cold, there's sort of more dynamic horses than it with a bigger turn of foot.
And is Russian Camelot immoral?
No.
Wow. There it is. Okay, let's jump to the Toorak then. Group 1 over the mile once more. Race 9, Caulfield, Market, then Speed Map. Dickens, deep race.
Yeah. Fuck. Basically, we've been going for a while, so I'm going to keep this short. I like Buffalo River a bit, but I've marked it $5, and I had to work to get it to $5. I've marked I Am Superman like double figures. I think, and this is race 9, so don't bet now, or have some on now if you want, if you're sick, but just make sure that the track's racing fairly. There's been a lot of rain around here at the moment on Thursday. Don't know what's happening the next few days yet, as if you'd bother trying to predict it here. But I think Cascadian and Superstorm are big odds here. I think Juniper's unders, flying, but unders. Superstorm's like, it's the classic like setup they did with Regal Power. The horse almost won the fucking All-Star Mile. This isn't an All-Star Mile field. It seems huge odds to me. I could see it going right off. Cascadian drawn 6. Imagine if it pinged the lids and Ollie put it sort of midfield. I think it would win if it does that. Even if it's back to last, where it probably will be. I think those two are run enormous. Sosibon and Rejovic alike, both flying, but maps just awful maps. Don't know where they get to from those wide barriers. And Mr. Quickie, barrier 2, no early speed. Race 9, if it rained or it has the track chops up a bit and you're out of barrier 2 in race 9, that's shit.
Yep. All right. So looking forward to a massive day. For those interested, we're offering Dicko's Grouse package for a discount this week. No one got my double entendre there, so thanks for your clear there, boys.
I don't get it. Yeah.
On special, go to the website. You'll get all of the yard mail plus all the movers plus podcasts, all that stuff for a week. Get on board. Let's head up to Curly Country.
I'm taking over the questions. So pump them into the YouTube chat group, and I'll read them all out. Curly and I have agreed that he can cut me off, and now I'm going to cut him off if we get a good question.
Curls, I want to start by asking you, what do you make of Alligator Blood in the Grey Bird race?
I noticed he opened up in the red, the horse. He's like $1.85 or something.
Yeah.
His first up run was a barrier trial. There's no doubt about that. I don't know. Like, I'm so great up over these David Van Dyke horses at the moment, honestly. I think I've made it pretty clear that I've done me complete arse on that Desert Lord last Saturday. Anyway, look, I don't know. Like, it's like they can't start any shorter than 250 based on the question marks around its first up run and the comments from the trainer. It couldn't possibly start odds on. That's what I think.
All right. Like it. Mark Shea and Mark Roden were both keen to take it on as well.
Good judges.
Yep, exactly right. So you can view the Sydney preview for the mailbag. It's already up podcast also available. But girls, we're talking about the Go the Maroons handicap, Doomben race 8. Check out the market and the speed map.
Yeah, look, this is basically the Wheatwood handicap from Toowoomba run again here at Doomben. So you got a couple of, you got a lot of these horses coming through. Everyone heard me carry on about Red Chase and how unlucky it was. It's, around that 480 mark. Like I say, a lot of these horses coming through that Wheatwood race, sort of anticipating that the winner will come from it, and 90% of the fields it comes out of it. So I assume I'll be right. The odds are in my favour. So we'll just. I suppose we could have.
Which
I wasn't betting. Yes, Van Dyke is living in my mind rent free at the minute. So look, if we go and have a look at that replay of the Wheatwood, we can talk. I can talk our way through it here. There's a lot of speed in this race. If you even look at the same horses that are in the Wheatwood, Fiery Heights, the Odyssey, Mr. Marbaloo's, Boom Sarah, I expect those 4 horses will be the 4 horses on the speed here. Pretty similar, really, to what we saw in the Wheatwood with Jade and Tom, sort of one off the fence midfield in a stalking position, Red chasing behind them. We love you, Lucy. So if you have a look at that, in the Wheatwood there, they put a heap of speed on. Now, easy to see. We backed Red Chase, buried along the fence, getting held up, coming to the corner. Now, they wanted to be away from the fence all day in that at that Toowoomba meeting. Red Chase has gone back to the inside and ran second. The Odyssey led. Master Jamie eyeballed it the whole way and ensured a good tempo. Fiery Heights is an interesting one, I reckon. I reckon it's as good as run as anything out of the race. It was 3 deep, working on a hot speed, and Red Chase has come from behind it and beaten a length. Jade and Tom sat midfield with cover, got to the right part of the track from the 500 and was able to get over the top of him in almost career best, first up 1200. So there's a few angles here, because Red Chase held up worst part of the track, flashing light run. Everybody sees it, looks the obvious. Probably going to start shorter than what it is now, and possibly start shorter than what it should. Then you take Fiery Heights, who was 3 deep. You could argue was in the better part of the going in the straight, but did a shitload of work in the run. Like I say, we're still boxing on at the end, and Jade and Tom had the PR and beat it, length and a half, 2. So I think it, might be a horse that's potentially over the odds at the current quote. The Odyssey is the interesting one. Gets Alex Pattis with the 3 off. Now, totally different proposition here. A flat track Doomben 1200 compared to a Toowoomba 1200. So I think we will see handlebars down from Alex Pattis here on the Odyssey. I think it'll eventually probably work its way to the front. Fiery Heights will then come off its back and sit outside it. And I'd anticipate they'll ride it as aggressive as what they did in the Wheatwood. So I think the Odyssey's under the odds, even though it's back to Toowoomba, like I said, flat track suited. I think it could be under the odds. I think it'll get tested again. If Jade and Tom can reproduce its run that it produced first up on its home track, it's certainly a winning chance. Just with the map, I think it maps pretty well here again. Boom Sarah will be up in the firing line as well. But I think just based on what we saw from that replay, you'd expect the Odyssey's going to be, going to be hard to beat. Fitter again, second up 1200, and Fiery Heights is going to be in the firing line for a long time at $13. So I could probably entertain, Fiery Heights and Red Chase at these prices.
All right, Dickens, any questions coming through for Shane Ciurleo?
Well, there's a lot. Ben G, I don't know what Ligma is in race 7. Gordon Hilston's asking about pricing ponies, like races. We'll get to that at the end. Try and remember that, Pete.
I've seen a few questions regarding horses.
Love you, Lucy. Overs. Maps for a nice run if the speed is on, from Alex Pappas. You can't say Russian Camelot isn't immoral and then not elaborate. Why isn't he, Jack? I just think there's no tempo in that race. There's no leader in that race. There's no speed in that race. The horse is aimed at the Cox Plate. Arcadia Queen gets the shoes off, which is a huge positive for me. And Pike went down the swamp last start and it still got through the line. Fair enough. If it's a sit and sprint, I don't want to be a Russian Camelot at that price, and it's favourite to be a sit and sprint.
Okay, very good. Curls, anything else out of Queensland?
I did get a question previously. Remember on the show a couple of weeks ago, we discussed that 2-year-olds should trial before they race, and only one horse hadn't trialled leading into that Toowoomba 2-year-old. And
it won?
No, she fell off it at the 500. I know that a few watching the show did back it.
Oh, just because I hadn't trialled?
No, because I remember I said I seen it jump out, and I think you could be on it for $5. Yeah. Question on whether I'll be backing it, following it up this week. Look at this. It's early, but at this stage, no. It's got Gate 9 and Andrew Mallion, who's pretty steady sort of jock. Likes to ride them within themselves and find positions. And just these early season 2-year-old races in Queensland, it's all about speed on speed. And
there's a few coming through who are on it.
Yeah, I'm like see how the day pans out. What we look at there when we get to it, how they parade, that sort of stuff. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge, but certainly not going to be diving in at the $5 Thursday night.
Quite amazing how many fall off like horses like that you're on up there.
Geez, it was travelling. Gee, it was
like
travelling.
in the time we've bet together. I haven't backed one horse where the jockey's fallen off. You've backed at least 2.
Yeah, 2. Both at Toowoomba.
And we're betting about the same amount of horses. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Sickening.
Futures,
so, I won't be...
Anthony
I thought... Sorry?
Anthony Van Dyke. Why is it being hammered? I don't even know who that is.
It's a futures bet in the Melbourne Cup, isn't it?
Someone must have tipped it, mate, who knows about the futures. It's going to the Caulfield Cup. Sorry, I don't know, Ollie.
Not a lot of excitement for me on the Brisbane card on Saturday, to be honest. It seems like the obvious ones have been found by the price assessors early, and there won't be a lot of action there early on, I wouldn't have thought. Small fields at the Gold Coast as well on Saturday, which there's been a few meetings on with the public holiday up here. We raced at the extra meeting at Bow Desert. Fucking rest in peace, me. And then we had Ipswich. So the fields are light, but I'll be heading to Warwick on the weekend anyway. It's the time honoured. Whatever that means, time honoured. It means you've been honoured in time or something. Why do people say that? I don't even know what it means. I don't even know what
it means. It's old, like it's been around.
Yeah, well, fucking righto.
People have been doing this since before time.
So time-honoured Warwick Cup on Saturday. Big fields, capacity fields, the most disgusting maidens you've ever seen. So I can't wait to get stuck into them. That'll be the focus of the provincial service this week for sure.
They're bloody outstanding. Let's head west. There's a cracking 3-year-old race 7 at Ascot. Just thank the good punting gods that we're back at Ascot. Can't wait to get stuck in there. But clairvoyance.
What about today? What did you do today? Where was that?
York. Magical York. Just fired off just a sneaky little couple of units at York.
God bless my man from the Churchill end. Didn't even just on Phil.
Didn't even
God
wait.
bless you and him, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah. Doing all right out of the Avon over the last couple of days, Northam and York. But this race, Clairvoyance, $1.70 up against Gemma's Son. Won well first start, big figure over to 1,000 at Belmont, around that 440 mark. And then you've got Charlton Eddy, and I think Rain of Fire will drift just purely based on the map that horse will get back. I'm expecting this race to have a fair amount of tempo in it, and the dynamics between Gemma's Son, as well as a few of these others, and New Had, Charlton Eddy, Dark Assault, they're all go forward horses. If Gemma's Son can find the lead and the rail with P. Harvey on board, back after a bit of an absentee, I think it's probably the one that will probably get a slightly better price on as well. But I think that's the one that's probably a bet. I can't see where Clairvoyance gets to outside of 3 wide without cover. It might eventually get to outside the lead, but it just has to maintain momentum the whole time. And I've just got a small query as to whether or not that horse will be ready to go. It's had 56 days off. I know it's obviously working well at home and it should be fit enough, but it's not the grand final for the horse. They've got a few more runs in store for it. So I don't think that Chris Parner will be going all guns blazing to try and find the front here. So it might just cause a few problems for the horse, but it's clearly very promising. Its figures are outstanding. It's potentially a Group 1 filly in the making. So
You own this one too? You in
no,
there?
I'm not. I'm not in this one.
And just quickly, James Allpress, the sickest man that we have at the mailbag. You've misspelt Misties, mate. Come on, be better than that. You obviously haven't actually been there. You might have been lying to me.
I don't even know what that means. Can we talk about it?
No, we can't.
Okay. Very good. Ascot, can't wait. We'll be betting up.
What does it feel like to be finally free of Belmont? Do you feel freshened just because you're changing decks?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of, speaking to a lot of the punters, that we generally just liaise and discuss. I think we're all looking forward to leaving Belmont behind and not having to read about horses that have stepped in a trench at the 150 metre mark, misstrode or dipped at the 150. It's just absolute torture.
That's how I feel when I get back to Sandown after I have a little time off from Sandown.
Yeah, I can see that.
I've got no examples of what I feel like. Jack Hugs asked if I feel better after the Bow Desert virus. I'll never fucking know because I'll be never going back.
I could learn about it.
Fuck that, John.
All right, we've got
Move on.
Jackson Oldham's joining us. The great man Jacko laying things on the fair and tweeting them out for stacks of liability for such a young man, just dominating at the moment. How did the Lego? Was it today, Jacko?
Yesterday, Bendigo. No, it was last in run, flashed home, ran third. So that was all right.
It's a very loud jumper you've got on there, young man.
It is just in preparation for next week, prelim final.
Why Brisbane, Jacko?
Well, when I was in the footy was this sort of 01, 02, 03 where we couldn't lose a game, and I thought, oh yeah, this is all right. And then I can we won one final in 17 years after that, so wasn't ideal, but it's starting to turn.
Absolutely. We're here to preview the Schillaci, a little bit of bonus Caulfield, and you're going to run us through it because we've heard enough of Dickens. So
1 second. I marked Arcadia Queen $4.20. Someone's asking.
Yeah.
I'll jump in with a question before as well with Anthony Van Dyke. Got off the plane, had its first piece of work this morning at Werribee, and after that's been sort of 6 into 480 for the Caulfield Cup. So I think that's why there's been some market support.
Great information. Thank you.
We can't possibly win because I'm on at 100s and 126s. So prayers.
Oh fuck! Really?
Thoughts and prayers.
Jesus, that's enormous.
Yeah, so if it can win, it'd be helpful. But anyway, I'll push on here. Caulfield race 5.
Yeah, go for it.
I was pretty keen here, Alpha Oro, but it's just been scratched the last half an hour. So we'll bat on. It kind of like ruined all of my plans when I was keen to do the race.
Wayne.
Lintex would lead pretty clearly here from Jungle Edge. I thought Haydock Order of Command sort of land behind those, and then the rest of the field, William Thomas, Diamond Effort, Octane, Boldstar, and Dirty Work are all back markers. So I thought Splintex just gets sort of complete control here, and if Caulfield plays anywhere how it usually does, I thought sort of $8 would be over the odds. Like was almost last in run in the Concord first up. There was just no intent, and then last start led into the win behind Classic Legend. I know at SP 26 is against Dirty Work, who started $6, but like Dirty Work here is just like gets a really poor jockey change and a poor map. So I'm kind of discrediting that SP a little bit. I thought Splintex would get the perfect run, and at $8, I thought he was over the odds.
What price do you mark him?
After Alpha Oro has been scratched, 580.
Yeah, okay. I got it 660 right now. So yeah, I'm with you.
Like the horses who have the big peak figures on punting form over the 1100 at Caulfield are your Diamond Efforts, Diamond Effort, Bold Star, William Thomas, all sort of have almost the same peak figure over the 1100.
I marked Diamond Effort at the same price, Jacko. You just can't see him. He just can't get a bad run here.
You can't. I thought how unlucky people were talking about how she was last start was a little bit overblown though. Like yes. I thought Diamond Effort and Bold Star run was sort of both had the same amount of merit. Like Diamond Effort has the SP over pretty much almost all of this field. Like it has the SP over Bold Star, Haydock, Jungle Edge, and William Thomas. I did think the horse that if you could run on was the overs in the race was William Thomas. Has the best last start benchmark rating in the race. Like his last 600 was 11 lengths above. It was absolutely enormous. Loves the 1100. Loves Caulfield. Like this track and distance, 3 wins and one placing from I think 7 runs or 6 runs at the track and distance. So I thought if they could run on, $16 was over the odds. But I thought
what price order of command? I was interested. You've obviously mapped it better than midfield. I haven't.
Well, I priced it pretty much almost on it. I priced it $9.50. I thought Ollie on order of command and not on Diamond Effort. I thought was possibly could be an interesting lead. I just thought there's no speed here, and from barrier 2, I thought Ollie can just do what he likes. Like I have him at 4th, but like wouldn't be surprised if he's 4 lengths off the lead. Having said that, I thought it was a chance, but there's no sort of overlay in my price compared to it.
Yep. All right, so we're back in Splintex there.
And with the proviso that the track's sort of fair, I'm going to have something on William Thomas as well. But I was keen Alpha Oro. I think they're saving him for next week and should be hard to beat there as well. And
are we gapping anything?
No, it doesn't. Well, I heard your sort of preview earlier. I'm going to lay Kirk. I just think he's going to be way too far back. Like Pike's cast. Look, likely best horse in race, but I priced it closer to $5. I'm already on Camborne at a big price in futures, so I'll just be cheering it. Mwanga, I agree, is under the odds. It'll start sort of $11, $12, but and I'm going to lay Instant Celebrity as well. I thought Hungry Heart was immoral.
Oh, wow! Come on, muck around.
Gets this.
Wow.
So yeah, that's pretty much all my insight at Caulfield.
Okay, well, Jackson Oldham just absolutely just putting the writing on the wall. The young man just coming out and flopping it out on the table. Fuck, take that.
Has anyone got any questions for Jackson before he goes?
Why do you lay horses on Betfair early when you know they're going to drift?
Exactly. It's just a big ego thing, Curly. Just a big ego thing. I just want to be a big man on campus.
Fuck it, I'm never doing it again. I'd laid that thing of Van Dyke's at like, what, 210 or something.
Started like $5.
SP'd 550. So, yeah, I fucking backed it back. Big deal. And then, fuck, I copped it. Hey, how'd your leg go, Mr. Drifter? And I was, never again.
What, I think you just keep laying all the way out.
It's
why don't we answer that question about pricing and relate it to the punting form stuff which we all use, which lays into to laying a horse. So we had a question. I got a question about how to use punting form as well, which I don't know how to do on the show because you can't sort of look on my computer. But if you've got a punting form subscription, you get up like a race meeting, right? So I'm going to do it now. I'm going to talk you through what I do. You get up a race. So I've got Caulfield race 10. You'll see a little pencil on the right-hand side. You can open up a worksheet. Inside that worksheet, once you've opened that up, it's a new page. You've got at the bottom there, you've got a speed map. You can move the horses wherever you want them and save that. And you've got a rating for each horse. You can make a comment for each horse and a comment for the race. I use the system as a starting point of 8's a rough chance, 16's a chance. These are the ratings. So 8 rough chance, 16 chance, 32 good chance, 64 big chance, 128 very, very, very big chance. So I'm doubling as I go up. It gets me sort of where I want to start from. And then you might go, oh, Willow's replacing an inferior rider, so I'll give it a couple more points. It's got a golden switch, I'll give it a couple more points. It's got an SP over this horse, a couple of more points. And Punting Form worksheet will build a price for you. You're actually does the work for you. Curls, what do you think?
Yep. I suppose the next step there, is map, where I'm adding or subtracting points. Now in Queensland, it's fucking difficult. Well, every other state in Australia that horses generally run to some form of consistency. Yeah, map's the next thing, definitely. The things that you spoke about there, yeah, I suppose everyone has their own different factors, don't they, of what they look at to add and subtract points. Or, some people use weights and measures, subtract half a kilo, add a kilo, or half a length, whatever. Everyone's got their different methods. But I think the form factors are relatively, you'll see a lot of crossover between people that do it and what factors they look at. But all those things you said plus map for me. And I send prices out Saturday morning, and then have to make adjustments as the day plays out based on how the track plays, because you get to a point where you've got to change it due to bias or whatever. So,
yeah, 100%. And to Jackson's point about laying a horse and Curly's great lay that day, Jackson might have Old Kirk mark like 450. So he might lay that horse, say it's 330, he might lay it out to sort of 420. Then it's getting close enough to his price that it's neutral for him now, and he's not going to lay it anymore. You don't just I'm going to lay this horse and lay it.
I think that's a really
pending.
That's a really good point. People can often mistake. There's a difference between this can't win, don't give a fuck what price, or this is a lay at 290. I've got it more a 450 chance.
Yeah.
One of my first lays, I remember that Hydro Star at Caulfield. I think I ended up laying it at 320. Had it priced, I think it was close to $4.80 or $5 off top head, and ended up getting to $5.80. So I had it as my best result in the race. Like by the time they jumped, but everybody on Twitter, obviously, I think I'm hard against, but it's all just dependent on the price at the end of the day.
Yeah, so you might still, I love Superstorm in the whatever it is, it's Toorak maybe, is it?
Yep.
So if they're not running on, I'll go in there and adjust its price. I'll take a couple of rating points off it to blow its price out slightly. But I'm not saying it can't win. I might take it from an $8 chance to a $10 chance, and it still might be $12, so it's still a bet for me.
But important, like you mentioned, to adjust on the day as well, and keep adjusting to track pattern, to wind, to rain, just all that sort of stuff. Like you've got to be. And
on top of that, at this time of year, you might see, there might be a horse racing that like two horses racing on the same day that come from the same race, and that horse might piss in a maiden at the Toorak. And you'll give a couple more points to that horse that's stepping up in grade at Caulfield. It probably won't happen on the weekend, but certainly in the slower parts of the year, that happens a lot here. There'll be a horse that's won a nice maiden, and the horse that ran second or fourth to it then wins race 1 at Donald, and you're in race 4 at Flemington, and you go, hang on, the form's a bit better than it was when I marked this price, so I'm going to add a few more points here.
We'll go to a question we got earlier from Tigsy. Hello, boys. Hope you're all well. Pistol, love your work at York. I'm half declaring choir in Sydney. Thoughts? Dicko, should I apply for the .com presenters role, or would the Wish be better suited?
I don't think the Wish would last he wouldn't finish the shift, would he?
Oh, nah, surely not.
But I do think Tiggsy's wasted on the tools, like I was, Tiggs. I'd love to have Tiggsy on .com. Although, when you're going for an outdoorsman like Tiggsy is, who relentlessly shaves those pins, I haven't forgotten, Tiggs. You're a big Gillette man, loves shaving those pins. That'd be torture. Like, imagine a hot day like Yarra Valley, middle of summer, you got a little bit of stubble coming through on the baby cows there in the suit pant. That's just going to rash right up, Tiggs. So, if you went for the job, you'd have to stop shaving your pins for sure.
Would they make him take the earring out?
Has he got one of those ones there too?
Nah, surely not.
Has he got one in the eyebrow, hasn't he?
Yeah. I'm all for the...
He's a big skateboarder. He's a big skateboarder. He can, like, do it all on a skateboard.
Yeah. Choir, what do you think of the run last start in Melbourne?
I don't even know who that is.
The Godolphin horse. Pike was on board.
It was awesome through the line. Its last 100 was really good there in the it was the Derby trial off the top of head, wasn't it?
No, if Pike rode it, it can improve.
There you go, Tiggs. I thought at the huge price, I think it's like, is it 20s or more? You could probably have something small. I was, sort of straying into that race by thinking Love Tap probably gets itself into a good spot. Probably better than the other main chance in Montefilia. That's assuming that track's going to be playing more forward advantage than anything. So Choir, if they can use it up a little bit early, get it into a good spot, it's probably not the worst shout at odds. Dickens, any more questions coming off the tube?
I was looking at Choir. Geez, it was soft in betting. Godolphin know what they're doing with the betting. So if it's firm on Saturday, it's going to run a good race.
Opened at like 480 and ended up starting 13th the fair.
Yeah.
Off the top of head, from memory.
And it still ran third, so that's something in that. Jackson, you going to lay Russian Camelot?
If he's the price he is now on the weekend, I will. I thought Arcadia Queen bar plates off first time was pretty big. I'm
conflicted with that. Like, I don't know if I think I just want to have a moderate bet at Arcadia Queen at the moment, but not lay. I'd rather just sort of get fucked once than get fucked two ways. You know what I mean?
That's up to you, mate. But anything under like $1.60 is probably a lay. I thought $1.60 to $1.70 was sort of right price. Probably $1.70.
Christian White, any chance Drewsy will be back? We was chatting to Drew this week, so we're a chance. We're a chance of getting a good read on the internationals, but it's up to the big man. He does whatever he wants, but he's welcome with us anytime that he likes. Cherry Tortini, got any chance of Sydney, boys?
Nobody.
I think the Victorian stayers have got some upside as opposed to like the dynamic sort of Sydney Colts and Phillies.
Yep.
Oh, where's the snowman? I forgot that. Fuck, I do it every fucking week.
Well, Dicko's getting the snowman on board. Just got to give a push. The NFL's wide receiver had a strong second week, currently running at 3% pot after the first 2 weeks. But Dickens, you were following a lot of his gear and or her gear.
It's actually her. And Barker, you do you. Barker, if you can keep the noise down, we'd all appreciate it too, mate. Don't know if he's getting food or whatever else he's getting delivered, but you wouldn't mind, big fella. Our girl who's supplying the wide receiver mail. Holy shit! I'm learning so much about NFL. Like, as the team, like we were on this same gamer, and as the team was down, they were down, and we were on the unders for their like main running back. So now, because they're down, they're going to start slinging the pigskin.
Wow.
Telling us.
There's a delay there.
Anyway, it was outstanding. Oh, he's flying. I can't wait for it on Sunday night. I love it.
Other big news is that Rob Scurry, our man, we'll get to what he achieved yesterday, which is absolutely incredible. But he's now on course Wednesday and Saturday. So Rob Scurry will be firing out Mounting Yard Mail every Wednesday and every Saturday, which is outstanding. Cannot wait for more midweek goodness. There's plenty of betting opportunities in those midweek meetings. I cannot wait. But who wants to run through Curls? I reckon you're probably best served because it was your race. Run us through the achievements of one Robert J. Scurry there yesterday.
Just to appease Alex Pappas here, I was against McCovey Cove. Wanted to be against McCovey Cove yesterday. It was number 3 at the price. It could win. Went through the field, went through the mounting yard, and the last horse I seen go out was number 2 because it was first up. It was playing up. It was hot, sweating up. Pony had to grab it. It was a complete mess in the yard. And I've just made a little note, place lay, the 2, as they went out of the yard. And because it's the last thing I wrote, I'd sent it to no bet race, but instead of sending numbers 3, 4, 5, 6, I've sent 2, 4, 5, 6. Because the 2 was the last horse I wrote down, place lay. So I watched the race. McCovey Cove got beat by Fish On. The 2 has come from last, come down the outside and got up. I never pulled the trigger on the bet because I just made it a no bet race. And then our man, Scurry.
It's just airborne.
Like, for you guys that watch the Sydney preview, you know what sort of operator he is, right? He lets the horses talk to him. He's a freak. He's a dead set freak. I don't know how he does it. He lets the horses talk to him. He says it in his words. Anyway, he sent a message after that race. It was the 2 was the only horse travelling. I've got matched for $13 a win at $1,000 in the run at the 600 because it was the only horse travelling. So I've got matched it. He's seen the thousands pop up, so he took it. Yeah, they don't trade any higher than that.
It's as good as it gets. You'll never beat that ever.
Can't beat that.
Unbelievable.
It was great. Now, you never begrudge anyone a win at all, ever. It took me an hour to reply to the message. I eventually replied the T, yes.
Team player.
It got to me a little bit, but it was so good. I mean, that's, I don't know. There's a little advantage, I suppose, for the guys that are sitting at home who get our stuff. Don't discount, getting a third-party application and be able to take a better price when we map something back and it gets back and then the price goes out. Most of the time you're getting that information of where we think a horse will be in the run anyway. So, like Scurry, just the unassuming genius, just walking and wandering around, just doing his own thing, just walking to the beat of his own drum, and here he is snapping up the thousands in run. It was fucking glorious.
And by the look of the picture he sent us, he might have just done it on his phone.
That also triggered me a little bit. I've got to be honest.
Like he's done it on his phone and he's 5 seconds behind you.
Probably
us getting sacked from our deal with Betfair, they actually have now turned it back to what it was. The markets go and play 5 seconds after they actually jump.
Absolutely. There's a lesson in that for all of us to, for everyone for watching at home as well. Like if you understand, listen to what people talk about where they map and things like that. As I said, there's opportunities there all the time. You just got to dip your finger in, just take little bits at a time.
Yeah, nibbles.
All right. Very good, guys. Thank you for your time, Jackson. Welcome aboard to the live show. Great work by yourself. We'll catch up next week for another crack on the deep dive, followed by the Mailbag Live. If you want to get involved, head to the mailbag.com.au. Huge weekend of punting ahead. Cannot wait to get stuck into some of the meetings around the grounds.
Huge weekend. We've got Pistol Pete, who's back in winners somewhere. I can't remember where it is now, but it's wide. He's back at Ascot. Curly, 19% over the first 6 months with us. 6 months, bets fucking 4 days a week, 19%.
It
Doesn't get better than that. He's had a little bit of a bad week, but he's at 19% for 6 months. So he's had a bad week, 19% for 6 months. What does that mean? It means it's about to be a fill-up. Now it's time to get on board. If you're not, I don't think there is anyone left that's not, but if you're not, I've got you covered at Caulfield. Scurry, I don't know what's happened to him, but fuck, he's airborne.
Wow.
Yeah, we lost our content sponsorship for telling the truth. They changed what we talked about, but didn't address it publicly. Just support us, keep the show going. Head to the mailbag.com.au, buy some products. Appreciate it.
We better give the people what they're asking then.
What do they want?
BVL, not PVL, just heaps of BVL. Girls?
BVL.
Look, they're into it, aren't they?
Best value and best lay. Is
Yeah.
that what it means?
Well, we're not giving out lays anymore. Fuck
Or is
them.
it Beta Volandis? Oh, no, it's PVL. Sorry.
I'm going to throw out, I've still yet to go through the full Ascot card, so I'm just chipping away at that. Plus, you can't really bet early anyway, so what does it matter? But at Randwick, pretty happy to be siding with Positive Pace in race 8, I think it is. I think that horse will be starting a bit shorter, so I'll be playing that pretty strong with smaller bets on Scarlet Dream and Nudge. Jacko, you want to recap your best? You've been throwing out just bets everywhere.
The best would be race 7, number 1, Hungry Heart, and a value. I think race 4, number 14, Bonds Abroad is a massive price at 50 to 1.
Like it. Girls, anything up in Queensland?
I thought race 5, number 5 was a tiny bit of value. It's only 650. I say that, but it's only an 8-horse field. Just found one a bit stronger late in the Toowoomba Cup last start, but I think it was a run short, the horse. So I think fitter here again, 2200 leading at Doomben, big advantage. I think it'll set up a break on these and might be something to catch. If you wanted lay Alligator Blood under $2 before Saturday and back at 275, 280, 290, whatever, maybe. It could be a play. Nothing else really in Brisbane. I touched on race 8 already. I think the rest of it's pretty round on the mark. So from what I've seen so far.
Also, just we've got our friends at Punting Form are putting together like their version of the best bets for Betfair. The good people at Betfair. So I'm not sure who gets it, but it's going to be out this weekend, I'm told. It's going to be pretty fucking handy. So hit up Betfair and try and get your hands on it. My best, I don't really have a best. I'll just run you through some bets. Race 9, I'm going to back Cascadian and Superstorm. Race 8, Old Kirk and Tagalola. Can't wait till that horse goes to stud. Race 6, I'm going to have a small bet on Arcadia Queen to roll Russian Camelot, even though I think Russian Camelot's second coming. And all the rest of the races, despite Jackson giving out 2 of them, which wasn't necessary, little man, but you're learning. Buy them out of your mail and I'll find you a few winners.
All right, bloody good. Thanks, guys. We'll catch up next week. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. If you want to relive any of the best bits, I don't know why you would, but you can watch it again later on.
Oh, you should. Lots of views equals